Hello. Tonight's broadcast is called The Big Rip. Dark energy is pulling everything apart until nothing holds together anymore. Scientists thought we had 20 billion years. We had 2 days. Tonight everything comes apart, the stars, the sky, the oceans, the ground, and then finally us. Piece by piece. 37 viewer reports, and I want to thank every single one of you because you made this broadcast truly special. This is the final broadcast of Continuum 1. If it finds you, leave a thumbs up, leave a comment. Let's go.
Welcome to Endcast Radio. It's just in. History unfolding. I have said those 7 words at the top of every broadcast I have ever done. And I have never once meant them the way I mean them tonight. 41 hours ago, a graduate student at the Carnegie Observatories in Pasadena ran a routine recalibration of distance measurements to a set of supernovae in the Coma cluster. Routine. The kind of check that gets run every month and comes back boring. It did not come back boring. The numbers said the expansion of the universe had changed. Not over cosmic time, over the previous 72 hours. She did what any good scientist does. She assumed she had made a mistake, and she checked. Then her supervisor checked. Then they called the Keck Observatory in Hawaii and asked them to check. And Keck checked. And then Keck called the European Southern Observatory in Chile and asked them to check. By the time the sun came up over California, every major observatory on Earth had run the numbers. And every single one had gotten the same answer. Dark energy is not constant. It is accelerating, and it is accelerating fast. Tonight I have all 6 of my colleagues with me from every corner of this planet. Quinn in London, Keeves in Lagos, Lily in Tokyo, Rick Trent in Hong Kong, Elias Stone in Dubai, and my brother Hank in Lima. Lily, explain to everyone what a big rip is and then tell them what the clock says.
I will, and I want to start by saying something that I think is important for how everyone processes tonight. The scientists were not wrong. This scenario has been in the literature for over 20 years. It has a name, the Big Rip, and it was first described in a paper by Robert Caldwell and colleagues in 2003. It is one of the standard, mainstream textbook possibilities for how the universe ends. Every cosmologist alive knows it. The mechanism is straightforward. Dark energy is the thing. If this ever happened at all, it would happen in about 20 billion years. The models were right, the clock was wrong. Based on the acceleration measured over the last 41 hours, the observatories have converged on a projection. From the point at which the change became measurable, the full sequence completes in approximately 48 hours. We are somewhere past hour 12.
12 hours in. And I want to describe what 12 hours in looks like from a continent that has just finished absorbing the news. Europe found out at breakfast. The announcement came from a joint statement issued simultaneously by the European Southern Observatory, the Max Planck Institute for Astrophysics, and the Royal Astronomical Society at 8:04 this morning, London time. I have covered a great many official statements in my life. I have never read one written like this. It was 4 paragraphs long, it used no hedging language whatsoever, and it ended with the sentence, "There is no proposed intervention, and no intervention is possible." No intervention is possible, in an official scientific statement. At breakfast. What happened next was not what anyone expected, because it has been the surprise of the day. Europe did not immediately riot. For the first 6 hours, Europe went quiet. People went to work. Genuinely, they went to work. The tube ran. The bakeries opened in Paris. And then, gradually, through the morning, it emptied out. People simply left their offices and went home, or went to find people, and by early afternoon most of this continent had stopped pretending to have a job. The Vatican opened St. Peter's Square, and it filled within the hour. The cathedrals of Cologne and Chartres and Seville are full. The mosques in Marseille and Rotterdam are full. There are queues outside synagogues in Vienna. And there are also queues outside pubs, which is its own kind of prayer. The riots will come. They are already starting in some places. But the first thing Europe did was go find somebody. Keeves, what did Africa do?
Africa did something similar and something different, Alistair, and the difference is worth naming. Lagos went into the streets, not to burn anything, to be together. This is a city of 20 million people that has never in its existence been quiet, and today it got louder. Whole neighborhoods carried furniture into the road and sat in it. Every church in this city held a service that has not stopped since it started, and the Redeemed Christian Church of God opened its camp on the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, which can hold 1 million people, and it filled. Across the continent, the same pattern. In Nairobi, the matatu drivers stopped charging fares and simply drove, all day, taking anyone anywhere they needed to be. In Cairo, the government announced Tahrir Square would be open and unpoliced, and 500,000 people went. In Cape Town, they went to the sea. And I want to say the thing that has struck me most in 12 hours of reporting. There is a great deal of writing in the wealthy parts of the world about how the poor and the vulnerable panic in a crisis. I have been on this continent all day, watching people who have very little face the end of everything, and what I have seen is that they went and found their families and they sang. That is the honest report from Africa tonight. Grant.
Thank you, Anderson. And North America, I am sorry to say, did panic. The stock exchanges opened this morning, which, in hindsight, is one of the most absurd decisions in financial history, and the Dow lost 60% in 11 minutes before trading was suspended permanently. Not for the day, permanently. The New York Stock Exchange has closed its doors for the last time in its 234-year history, and nobody was there to ring a bell. There has been looting in most major American cities since around noon. Not for food, mostly. For things. There is footage from Chicago of a man carrying 4 televisions out of a store, one at a time, methodically to a car. And I have thought about that man all day, and I cannot decide whether he is the saddest thing I have ever seen or the funniest. And we have our first operator report of the night from Chicago, from a voice this network knows well. Cale Gruen. Go ahead, buddy.
The mayor of Chicago went on television 30 minutes ago. He declared the government of Chicago dissolved, effective immediately. He added that volunteers will maintain the power grid while possible, but there is no confidence in any other service staying active. Also, it's not just here. All across the country, local governments are issuing some of the most depressing statements I've ever heard.
What you just described is happening in every city on this continent. Government is not being overthrown tonight. It is being handed back. The mayor of Chicago went on television and told 3 million people that the structure that had held them together no longer existed, and then he presumably went home to his family. Because what else is there? Except to watch Endcast radio on 4 stolen TVs, I guess. And note the one thing he did promise. Volunteers will maintain the power grid while possible. Somewhere in Chicago tonight, there are people who could be with their families, who are instead sitting in a control room keeping the lights on for strangers. Remember them. Trent, Hong Kong. You have the largest population on Earth in your region.
I do, Grant, and I'm going to open with a joke because it is the last chance any of us will get to be funny, and because roughly 4 billion people made the same joke today. Everyone on Earth spent this morning saying the same thing. This is Thanos. And I want to correct the record because as a lifelong appreciator of the source material, I feel it is my duty. Thanos took half. He snapped his fingers and he took 50%, and he considered that a hard day's work, and he retired to a farm to watch a sunrise. What we have got is significantly more committed, This one is taking everything. The people, the planet, the sun, the farm, the sunrise, and the fingers he snapped with. And there is no Doctor Strange in this universe. I checked, I made calls. That is the last joke I have got, so let me give you Asia. China has not made a formal announcement, but every provincial government has, and the effect is the same. Shanghai has opened the Bund, and the waterfront is one continuous crowd. Beijing has opened the Forbidden City for free. Hong Kong, where I am, has a strange dignity to it tonight, people queuing politely for the Star Ferry to cross a harbor they have crossed 10,000 times because they wanted to do it once more. But I have to give you something that is not warm. The dams. The Three Gorges Dam holds 39 billion cubic meters of water above a river basin containing 400 million people. It has been fine for 20 years, and it will be fine right up until the moment the concrete starts coming apart, and when I say coming apart, I do not mean collapse. I mean pinholes. Structural engineers at Tsinghua published a note 4 hours ago pointing out that a dam does not need to lose most of its material to fail. It needs to lose enough that load distribution breaks down. 10% in the wrong distribution is enough. Evacuation orders have gone out for the entire Yangtze Basin. 400 million people have been told to move to high ground. There is nowhere for 400 million people to go, and there are 20 hours to get there. Stone, Dubai, your region has the other half of that problem.
It does, Rick, and thank you for the Thanos correction. Somebody had to. The Middle East and South Asia have two categories of exposure that are keeping every emergency planner in this half of the world awake, and neither of them is about people panicking. The first is petrochemical. Jubail Industrial City in Saudi Arabia is the largest industrial complex on Earth. Jamnagar in India is the largest oil refinery on Earth. Ras Laffan in Qatar handles a substantial share of the world's liquefied natural gas. These are facilities that store enormous quantities of pressurized, volatile material inside containment that is engineered to a tolerance. If that containment develops holes, the material does not evaporate politely. It escapes, it finds an ignition source, and it does what it does. The second is nuclear. And here I want to be precise because there is a lot of frightened misinformation circulating. Nuclear reactors will not explode like bombs. That is not physically possible. What will happen is worse in a slower way. A reactor core generates decay heat for a long time after shutdown, and it needs active cooling to stay contained. Every reactor on Earth was scrammed today. Every one. But scramming does not remove the fuel, and if the containment structure and the cooling systems come apart, you are left with exposed cores. Not one Chernobyl. Dozens over a period of hours on every continent that has a nuclear industry. There are 440 operational reactors on this planet. Kori in South Korea, Gravelines in France, Bruce in Ontario, Kudankulam in India, Baraka, 90 minutes drive from where I'm sitting. The engineers at every one of those sites were told they could go home this morning. I am told that at the majority of them, most of the staff stayed. Hank, Lima, take us south.
Thanks, Elias. Hank Mercer, South America. Lima went to the churches and to the sea in roughly equal numbers. Brazil, in a decision I find magnificent, has not canceled anything. Rio has not canceled a single thing. The bars are open, the beaches are packed, and there is samba on Copacabana tonight because the alternative was to stop. And this city has never once in its history chosen to stop. Buenos Aires filled the Plaza de Mayo. Bogota is in the streets. Santiago is quiet, mostly people at home with family. And then there is the Andes. Something is happening up in the high country that the rest of the world has not caught up to yet, and I am going to be reporting on it all night because it is the strangest thread of this entire event. The Quichua communities in the Peruvian highlands have a word, Pachacuti. It does not translate cleanly. The closest I can get is the overturning of time and space, the unmaking of the world, followed by its remaking. And in the Andean tradition, it has happened before. 4 times. Since this morning, that word has been moving through the highlands faster than any news broadcast, not as a metaphor, as an identification. The people up there are not saying this is like Pachacuti. They are saying this is Pachacuti, the 5th one, and they have been expecting it. I want to make it clear I am not putting that on air as prophecy. I am putting it on air as a fact about what is happening in a region of this world tonight, and because we have an operator up there who is about to walk straight into the middle of it. Grant, Biddy is in Peru.
And she is in Peru because I gave her time off. She had earned it. She has been filing through every catastrophe we have covered. She kept her promise to check in anyway. Here is her first report of the night, filed from Lima, in my brother's city.
Damn, our instruments are already failing, it seems.
Biddy?
Thank you, Endcast, for time off. Peru, Bolivia, Ecuador. I'm keeping my promise to check in with reports. I came to Lima a few days early to take in the city. Today I shared my lunch with the cats in Kennedy Park. Right now I'm in Love Park, watching the sunset. It seems a bit off. The sun looks like a flat copper plate. The sky is a weird yellow-green, and the Pacific has turned jet black too early.
Biddy, welcome to the broadcast. And I am so sorry about the timing of your holiday. And everyone hear what she just gave us in one line, because she has beaten the observatories to something. The sun looks like a flat copper plate. The sky is yellow-green. The Pacific went black too early. Lily, tell me that is atmospheric scattering.
It is, Grant, and it is the first visible sign on the ground. What Biddy is describing is consistent with a subtle change in atmospheric density and composition beginning at the upper layers. Less atmosphere means less scattering, which flattens the sun's disk and shifts sky colour toward exactly the yellow-green she describes. And a dark ocean before dusk means less light reaching the surface at low angles. Biddy, you noticed the sky was wrong before any instrument on this network told you. That is why you are on this network.
Hank, you keep her line. She is in your region, and I want your voice with her tonight.
Roger.
Guys, the Milky Way is going.
I want to walk everyone through what is happening above their heads right now. Because for the first time in the history of our species, every human being alive can look up and watch the structure of the universe come apart with their naked eyes. 6 hours ago, the distant galaxies went. That was invisible to anyone without a telescope. Their light red-shifted out of the visible spectrum, and they faded from every instrument on Earth. The astronomical community watched 2 trillion galaxies disappear from the record in a single afternoon. Now it is our galaxy's turn. The Milky Way is not bound tightly enough to resist. Its stars are drifting apart, and the visible effect from Earth is that the band of light across the night sky, the thing every human culture that has ever existed has told stories about, is thinning. You can see it happen. Not over years, over hours. Go outside tonight and look. And then look again in 90 minutes, and it will be fainter. Sydney reports it clearly. Manila reports it. Every observatory in the southern hemisphere, where the Milky Way is brightest, is reporting the same thing, and most of them have stopped taking measurements and simply gone outside to watch. And the constellations are beginning to distort, slowly. But the shapes that have guided navigation and agriculture and myth for 40,000 years are no longer the shapes in our books. Hank, your operator's watching this from the Andes, and she is not alone up there.
She is not alone up there, Grant. And her next reports are where this stops being astronomy and starts being something else. Her tour group went to the Larco Museum in Lima this morning. Go ahead, Bid.
Today, our tour group went to the Larco. Of course, we had to go to the naughty room. Not for the kiddos. Saw some interesting pieces, including one very disturbing one with animals and skeletons interacting. Apparently represents the chaotic, fertile energy to transition from life to death. Did I just see it turn to the same shade of black as the ocean was last night?
Biddy, the Larco is real, and the room she is politely calling the naughty room is real. It is one of the great collections of pre-Columbian erotic ceramics in the world, and the piece she is describing is a moche vessel, showing animals and skeletons interacting, which is exactly what she says it is. And she watched it turn the same shade of black as the Pacific did the night before. Lily, that is a ceramic in a climate-controlled museum case?
It is, Hank, and I do not have anything for you on that one.
Then we will let it sit there. She has moved inland with her group now to Urubamba in the Sacred Valley. Go ahead, Biddy.
A wonderful 2 days in Urubamba, the Sacred Valley. Rafted on the river, visited a school, and had lunch with a local family. There was a festival in town, and we got to watch scissor dancers. But I have a feeling that something isn't quite right. The skies seem dimmer, and sometimes out of the corner of my eye, I see rips in the sky. People keep saying something about Pachacuti. Cosmic cataclysm?
Yes, cosmic cataclysm. That's exactly what they're saying, and you are the first person on this network to hear the word from the people who own it. And I need to flag the other thing in that report, the thing she almost throws away, rips in the sky, out of the corner of her eye. Lily, is there any optical mechanism for that?
There is, and I wish there were not. Uneven atmospheric density creates refractive discontinuities. Where a region of air has thinned relative to its surroundings, light bends at the boundary. To an observer, that produces a visible seam, a line of distortion, most easily caught in peripheral vision, because the eye is more motion sensitive at the edges. She is seeing real boundaries between air and less air. There are seams in the sky now, and they are physical.
Seams in the sky, and a valley full of people who have a word for it. Stay with me, Anne. Alistair, Europe is dark now.
Europe is dark and Europe went outside. That is the report. Across this continent, at nightfall, people walked out of their homes and looked up, and they have not gone back in. The parks of London are full. The Champ de Mars in Paris is full, and the tower is lit and nobody is charging anybody to go up it. Berlin, Madrid, Warsaw, Athens. Reykjavik has the best view of any capital in Europe tonight, and the entire city is out on the hills above it, and they are watching the Milky Way thin out over their heads. I stepped outside 40 minutes ago, onto the embankment, and looked up at a sky that was clearer than any London sky I have ever seen, because there is very little air traffic and very little industrial output tonight, and I could see the band, faintly, and it was fainter than it should have been, and there were people all along the river doing the same thing I was, and nobody said very much. Now, 2 harder things from Europe. The first is Rotterdam, the largest port in Europe, and one of the largest concentrations of petrochemical storage on this planet. The Port Authority has spent today doing something no port has ever done. They have been deliberately emptying tanks, flaring off product, burning fuel on purpose, trying to reduce the volume of volatile material sitting in vessels that will develop holes. There has been a wall of flame along that estuary since noon. It is a controlled fire. It is deliberate. And it is one of the more heroic acts of engineering I have ever reported on, because those crews are burning off the thing that would otherwise kill everyone downwind, and they are doing it knowing what tomorrow is. The second thing is Amsterdam, and it is not heroic at all. Keeves, I am going to hand that one to you, because if I report on it, I will lose my temper on air.
I will take it, Alistair, and I will lose my temper on your behalf. There is a company in Amsterdam called Perpetua Continuity. It occupies 2 floors of a tower in the Zuidas financial district. It was incorporated 14 months ago. Perpetua Continuity claims it can upload human consciousness. The pitch, and I am reading from their own materials, is complete neuronal continuity. The claim is that they can capture the full structure of an individual's mind and hold it in a storage substrate, such that the person could be reconstituted, in their phrasing, should the universe be restored. Should the universe be restored, the procedure takes 12 minutes. It is non-invasive. You sit in a chair in a facility in Groningen, and 12 minutes later you are told your consciousness is safe. The price is 40 million euros.
Ha ha!
Utter stupidity!
Yeah. In the last 40 hours, Perpetua Continuity has processed more than 200 clients. That is over 8 billion euros. Schiphol has a queue of private aircraft that is not cleared since yesterday morning, and Dutch air traffic control has been given emergency authority to sequence them, which means air traffic controllers are staying at their posts tonight in order to land billionaires. Now let me tell you what the scientific community says. There is not one peer-reviewed paper. Not one. Every technical detail is proprietary. The consensus estimate for the storage capacity required to hold a single human connectomy is on the order of an exabyte, and the neuroscience required to read a living brain at that resolution does not exist and is not close to existing. The chief executive is a man named Joost van der Waal. Before founding Perpetua Continuity, he ran a cryptocurrency payments company that dissolved in a regulatory settlement. He has no scientific background of any kind. I have covered a great many frauds in my career. I have never covered one where the customers will not be alive to complain.
And the question everyone is asking, Anderson, is the one I cannot answer. Why? Money is worthless in 30 hours. There is nothing to buy. There is nowhere to spend it. A man who takes 8 billion euros tonight has taken 8 billion units of a thing that will not exist tomorrow. So why is he doing it? There are 3 theories circulating, and I am going to give all 3 because I genuinely do not know which is true. 1. He believes it. He is not a fraud. He is a true believer who has convinced himself he has solved consciousness, and he is doing what he thinks is the most important work in history. The problem with that theory is that if he believed it,
He'd be more stupid than I thought.
he would have uploaded himself. He has not. He is not on any client manifest. 2, he is simply a con man, and a con man cons. It is what he is. The money is meaningless, but the act is not, because the act is the only thing he knows how to do, and he is doing it right up to the end, the way a musician plays right up to the end.
Just like in good old Titanic.
3, and this is the one that has been sitting badly with me all day. He is not collecting money. He is collecting people. 200 of the wealthiest and most powerful individuals alive have voluntarily traveled to a bunker in Groningen and sat in a chair alone for 12 minutes in a facility no independent observer has ever been permitted to enter. I do not have a theory about what that means. I have a bad feeling and no theory. One more fact. Van der Waal's private aircraft departed Schiphol 6 hours ago and filed no destination. He is not in Amsterdam. He is not in Groningen. Nobody knows where he is. Trent, the prisons.
The prisons, Grant, and this one is happening everywhere at once, and it is not going the way anyone predicted. Walls are load-bearing structures like anything else, and they are among the first large solid objects to develop visible holes, perimeter walls, cell doors, fences. Over the past 6 hours, correctional facilities on every continent have effectively stopped being able to hold anyone. Rikers Island, Belmarsh in London, Silivri outside Istanbul, the largest prison in Europe, Evin in Tehran, Tacumbu in Paraguay, La Modelo in Colombia, Bangu in Rio. Here is what actually happened, and it surprised everybody. The single most common behavior, by a wide margin, has been men walking out of a hole in a wall and going home. Not fleeing. Going home. There is footage from outside Belmarsh of a man in a prison-issue tracksuit standing at a bus stop, waiting for a bus, in a city where the buses stopped running this afternoon. He was still standing there an hour later. The second most common behavior is looting and violence, and it is real and it is bad, particularly in cities where the police had already stood down. The third thing, the one I want on the record, is what happened in the South American facilities where rival factions have been physically separated for decades. When the dividing walls came apart in Tacumbu and in Bangu, those factions were suddenly in the same space. What followed in both facilities was a massacre with a body count in the hundreds, fought with improvised weapons in buildings that were themselves dissolving around the fighters. And the fourth thing, at a facility in Nagano Prefecture in Japan and at least 2 in South Korea, the walls came apart and nobody left. The inmates stayed in their cells. Some of the guards stayed too. When a reporter reached one of the guards by phone and asked why, he said, "Where would they go, and where would I go? And it seemed better to stay together." Every possible human response in the same 6 hours on the same planet. Lily.
The moon is losing mass. Lunar laser ranging stations, which measure the distance to reflectors left on the surface by the Apollo missions, have been reporting anomalous returns since this afternoon. The moon is receding faster than its normal rate of about 4 centimeters a year, substantially faster. And its gravitational influence on Earth, which we measure very precisely, is weakening. This is not cosmetic. This is the single most consequential thing to happen to this planet today, and it is already killing people. The tides. The oceans of this world have been oscillating in a stable rhythm for 4 billion years, driven by lunar gravity. Take that driver away suddenly, and the water does not simply settle. It has momentum. What you get is resonance chaos. Standing waves in enclosed basins, water piling up where it should not, and draining where it should not. The Bay of Fundy has recorded a 14-metre differential in 90 minutes. The English Channel is behaving in a way that has no precedent. The Yellow Sea, the Gulf of Cambat, the Severn Estuary, every basin on this planet with a strong tidal range is now unpredictable. Harbours are emptying and then overfilling. Ships that were safely moored an hour ago are on their sides on mudflats. Coastal towns in Nova Scotia, in Brittany, in Gujarat, in Zhejiang are being flooded and then drained and then flooded again. Manila Bay went out 400 metres this evening and came back in 11 minutes. And there is a second-order effect that will matter over the coming hours. The moon stabilises Earth's axial tilt. As lunar mass decreases, the axis begins to wander. It is small so far, fractions of a degree, but it is measurable, and it means sunrise and sunset. Times will begin to drift from their predictions. The sun is going to come up in the wrong place tomorrow, if tomorrow comes.
And the air is going, Lily, which brings me to something that has been happening in the skies over my region for the last 2 hours, and that has now grounded every aircraft on Earth. The atmosphere is not thinning uniformly. It is thinning in patches. Where a volume of air dissolves, the surrounding air rushes in to fill the void. That produces wind. Not weather system wind, not something a forecaster can predict. Sudden, violent, local wind from no direction and for no reason, lasting minutes and then nothing. For an aircraft, this is catastrophic. An airliner flying into a region of reduced air density loses lift instantly. There is nothing for the wings to work against. Emirates flight EK203 Dubai to New York went down in the eastern Mediterranean 6 hours ago. There were 341 people on board. The last transmission from the flight deck reported a total loss of airspeed indication with no warning. Since then, 17 more. Over Kazakhstan, over the Andaman Sea, over Nebraska, over the Sahara. Every civil aviation authority on this planet has now grounded everything. There are still aircraft in the air because some of them cannot land and some of them will not. And there is a related effect on the ground that people need to know about because it will kill anyone who does not understand it. Oxygen depletion in patches. There are regions at sea level right now where the effective oxygen availability is what you would find at high altitude. People are collapsing on ordinary streets in ordinary cities from hypoxia, while 100 meters away, the air is completely normal. If you feel suddenly breathless for no reason tonight, move. Do not sit down. Move laterally, quickly, in any direction, and keep moving until you can breathe. That advice is going out on every emergency channel on Earth, and I want it on ours.
We have a new voice on this network tonight, and I want to introduce her properly, because on any other day, we would have done this with a bit more ceremony. LaDonna is reporting from Detroit. She signed up as an operator on this network a few days ago. This is her first broadcast.
Poor soul got dropped right into real madness.
LaDonna, you are on.
It's 6 in the morning or night, I don't know. The sky makes no sense, and I've been up too long. Don't want to miss any of the last moments. Power is out as far as I can see, but my generator still works. I'm on my deck with binoculars and a shot glass of rum. I hope I can take the shot as I disappear. I grew up knowing I'd probably see the world end. I'm just glad it's not a nuclear bomb.
LaDonna, on behalf of this entire network, welcome. And I am sorry we could not get you a better assignment for your first day.
LaDonna, Anderson Keeves, here in Lagos, welcome. And I want you to know that the line, "I'm just glad it's not a nuclear bomb," is the most Detroit sentence I've ever heard in my life.
Rick Trent, Hong Kong. Welcome, LaDonna. And I need to know what the rum is because if this is the last drink any of us gets, the brand matters and I will not be talked out of that position.
Alistair Quinn, London. Welcome. Binoculars, a deck, and a shot glass. You have understood the assignment better than people who have been doing this for years.
LaDonna, you keep that generator running. You have got the best seat in Michigan. Chris Cora is on the line from Arizona. Go ahead, buddy.
I drove up to the Grand Canyon after hearing all the reports. The Colorado River is gone. Not a drop of water left at the bottom of the canyon. I grabbed all my equipment out of the truck to start recording. I then turned around and my truck was no longer there. It just turned to dust right in front of me. Then the dust to nothing. Guess I'm staying here tonight. I'll be here to the end.
The river that cut the Grand Canyon over 6 million years. Gone. And the canyon it made is still standing there empty, above where it used to be. Lily, why water first?
Because water is a liquid, Grant. The hydrogen bonds that hold liquid water together are far weaker than the covalent and ionic bonds holding solids. Rock, steel, concrete, bone, all of those are more tightly bound. Water gives way first. That is why the reports coming in from all over the world in the last hour are about water. Rivers vanishing, reservoirs draining upward, municipal supplies failing.
And Chris, your truck. That is the second category. And it tells us the front has reached manufactured objects. Turned to dust, and then the dust to nothing. 2 stages. Structure first, then matter. I would rather you are not alone out there. Chris, hold your line. I want you back with us within the half hour. That is not a request from your anchor. That is a request from a friend.
Grant, I have to break in with Africa because the Kariba Dam has begun to fail. Kariba, on the Zambezi between Zambia and Zimbabwe, holds one of the largest man-made reservoirs on the planet. Its wall has been a known engineering concern for years, with erosion in the plunge pool below it. At approximately 2140 local time, the wall developed visible perforation across the upper section. Not a breach, perforation. Holes, distributed opening. The Zambezi River Authority sounded every alarm it has. Downstream of Kariba is the Zambezi Valley, and downstream of that is Cahora Bassa in Mozambique, which is a second dam holding a second reservoir, and if the water from Kariba arrives at Cahora Bassa, the second dam will not hold either. The population at risk in the valley and the delta is in the millions. There is no evacuation infrastructure and there is no time, and the roads are already impassable because they are already coming apart. The wall gave way at 22:06. I am not going to describe what a wall of water does to a valley. Everyone listening can imagine it, and imagining it is enough. And the reason I am reporting this now in this detail is that Kariba is not the largest dam on this planet, and it is not the last one. Itaipu on the Paraná is under the same stress. Grand Coulee, Hoover, Aswan, the Tarbela in Pakistan. Every great river on earth has a wall on it, and every one of those walls is coming apart tonight.
Breaking news. 3 Gorges reported first perforation 8 minutes ago.
God help the Yangtze.
I have got Biddy back, and her report from the Sacred Valley is the strangest thing on this frequency tonight.
Time to leave the Sacred Valley and head to Aguas Calientes. We just met a shaman to receive a prayer. When he saw us, he refused to perform the ceremony. He kept saying, "No Sami." Finally, at our guide's insistence, he said a few words that seemed to greatly disturb our guide, Mani. The skies went gray. He fell to his knees saying, "Pachacuti." Our guide turned white and muttered the unmaking. On the bus, Mani told us that the shaman didn't want to bless us as we had no Sami life force. The blessing he finally gave was as follows. May God bless you. May your death be quick and painless. Mani also told us of Pachacuti, the unmaking of life as we know it, the overturning of time-space, and subsequent rebirth. It has already happened 4 times. Many believe it is happening again.
Biddy, I want to be careful, and I want to be honest. I am not going to tell this audience that an Andean shaman has second sight. What I'm going to tell them is that a man in the highlands looked at a group of people this morning and identified something about them that a laser ranging station in New Mexico would not confirm for another 6 hours. The overturning of time-space. That is the translation your guide gave for Pachacati. And in a broadcast where the physicists are telling us that space-time itself comes apart at the end of the sequence, I am not going to be the man who calls that a coincidence on air. 4 times before. And they think this is the 5th. Stay on this line, Biddy. Grant, back to you.
Thanks, Hank. Chris Cora is back, and he is still at the canyon.
During my reporting, many people approach me to ask if I've seen their friends and family. Each person says the same thing. Their loved one was right there, then gone. I don't know what to say. More vehicles have disappeared as well. Guess I won't be alone. Reports are coming in from park staff that trails and landmarks are disappearing, like they were never there in the first place.
This is the thing I have been dreading reporting all night, and it is now confirmed from every continent. People are dissolving, individually, without pattern.
Grunt, I have the analysis, and there is no pattern. That is the finding. It is not by age, health, mass, location, altitude, or anything else the teams have been able to correlate. It appears to be stochastic, random, at the level of the individual, at a rate that is climbing.
Random. So, there is nothing you can do. Nothing you can eat. Nowhere you can stand. Nobody you can be.
Nothing. It is not choosing.
Chris, you said you would not be alone. There are people around you asking about their families. Stay with them. Stay talking to them. That is the whole job now. And to everyone listening whose person was right there and then gone, there was nothing you could have done, and nothing they did wrong.
Gravelines has lost containment. Gravelines is a 6-unit nuclear station on the French coast near Dunkirk, one of the largest in Europe. All 6 reactors were scrammed this morning. As Elias explained earlier, scramming stops the fission reaction but not the decay heat, and decay heat requires cooling. The cooling systems at Gravelines failed at 23:15 local, when the pumping infrastructure and the seawater intake came apart. The reactor buildings then began to perforate. At approximately 23:40, the containment on Unit 3 was compromised sufficiently that the core is now, in the language of the French Nuclear Safety Authority, in open communication with the atmosphere. 3 of the 6 units have followed. Radiological release is ongoing, and the plume is moving inland on a northeasterly wind toward Lille and the Belgian border. The evacuation order covers 11 million people and is meaningless because there is nowhere to evacuate to and no functioning transport network, and, in about a day, no anywhere at all. And I have to report the same thing from Kori in South Korea, from 2 units at Bruce in Ontario, and from Kudankulam in India, all within the last 90 minutes. The word my source at the IAEA used before the line dropped was cascade. There is one piece of light in this, and I am going to give it because we all need it. At every single one of those sites, the operators stayed. They were released this morning and told to go to their families. At Gravelines, the shift supervisor and 41 members of staff stayed at their posts and were still attempting cold shutdown procedures when containment failed. They knew, they stayed anyway, for a plume that will not matter in a day, for people who will not be alive to be grateful.
Alistair, Jubail Industrial City, the largest industrial complex on Earth, petrochemical crackers, storage, refineries, all of it holding pressurized hydrocarbons. Perforation began in the tank farm shortly after midnight local. What follows is not complicated. gas escapes, gas finds an ignition source, and Jubail is a city built entirely out of ignition sources. The first detonation was at 0:34. The second was 90 seconds later and was substantially larger. By 0:50, the complex was one continuous fire. The seismic network in the region recorded the events. The satellites recorded them too. There is imagery from orbit tonight showing the eastern Saudi coast as a single unbroken band of light. Jamnagar in India went up 40 minutes later. Ras Laffan in Qatar is burning. There are reports from Abqaiq, from Yanbu, from Baytown in Texas, from the Rotterdam estuary where the deliberate flaring has become something they can no longer control. Every place where humanity concentrated its stored energy is now releasing it at once. And what strikes me, sitting in Dubai looking north at a horizon that is orange when it should be black, is that this is the exact inverse of the way we thought it would go. We spent 70 years terrified that we would set this off ourselves. In the end, the universe did it for us, and it used the fuel we had already stacked up and left lying around.
Guys, the Three Gorges.
Go, Rick.
Three Gorges failed at 13:20 local time, 39 billion cubic meters. The wall did not collapse in the cinematic sense. It perforated across the spillway section, and then the load redistribution did the rest, and the structure unzipped from the middle outward over approximately 4 minutes. The wave is now moving down the Yangtze. Yichang is immediately below the dam. Yichang is gone. It had 4 million people this morning and an evacuation order it could not fulfill. Below that in order, Jingzhou, Yueyang, Wuhan, Jiujiang, Anqing, Nanjing, Zhenjiang, Shanghai. Wuhan has 11 million people, Nanjing has 9. Shanghai at the mouth has 24 million and roughly 10 hours before the front reaches the delta. And Shanghai is the most vulnerable major city on Earth to this because it is built on a floodplain barely above sea level. I do not have casualty estimates. The people whose job it was to produce casualty estimates are in the floodplain. I made a joke at the top of this broadcast about Thanos taking half. I want to withdraw it. It was funny 4 hours ago because it was still abstract, and it is not abstract now, and I would like the record to show that I stopped finding it funny at 13:20 this afternoon when the Yangtze came off its leash. Grant, take it. I need to work my sources in the Delta.
Take your time, Rick. Nurse Sparky is on the line from Chicago. Many of you know her voice. She has held a hospital ward through worse nights than most people will ever see. Go ahead.
I was going to go to work, but the hospital and everybody in it's gone. So I've gone from condo to condo in my block, gathering people to sit in the park across the street. We're sitting in a circle and we're holding hands and we're singing. When someone goes poof, we just move closer together to keep the circle complete. There are a few tears, but mostly we're calm, reflective, waiting.
When someone goes poof, I do not think I will hear a better sentence than that one for the rest of my career, which admittedly is short. She went to work. The hospital was gone, and everyone in it. So she went door to door in her own building and gathered strangers into a park and sat them down in a circle and started singing. And when the circle loses someone, the circle closes up. Sparky. That is the entire human project in one image. And you did it without being asked and without an audience. Everyone listening, if you are alone right now, go and find a circle or start one. It does not have to be anything. It is just a circle, and it closes up when it needs to. Chris Cora is calling in from the Grand Canyon, and I want everyone quiet for this one.
The Grand Canyon is now fading away. It started as small rocks, now it's whole buttes and mesas. I moved away from the edge, not too many more people left. My time is coming. I never had much of a family, except for Endcast. Thanks everyone for the good times. I'll be here as long as I can be. I couldn't ask for more. Most of the canyon is gone now. The sky looks so strange. I fear I am
Chris? Chris Cora? Phoenix? Come back? Chris?
Grant,
I know. He said he never had much of a family except for Endcast. Man, this one hurts.
thank you, Chris. From all 7 of us and every operator on this frequency. You were family here too, and you were family the whole time, and I am so sorry that nobody ever told you plainly until now. I am going to keep his line open for the rest of this broadcast. It will not do anything. I am doing it anyway. Hank, take us somewhere else, please.
I will, Anderson. Give me your weight for a minute and go get some water. Biddy has moved again. She is on a bus climbing toward Aguas Calientes, the town below Machu Picchu, and what she sent is the warmest thing on this frequency tonight.
As our bus gained altitude, it also slowed until it stopped, stranded until a public bus stopped to pick us up. It was crowded and lively. Women in layered skirts, embroidered blouses, and colorful scarves. Men and their pets, parakeets, chickens, dogs. The woman next to me had a tiny black llama on her lap. She wore a crucifix, a Peruvian cross, rosary beads, amulets. There was a lot of chatter.
A tour bus dies on a mountain road at the end of the world, and a public bus stops and picks them up because that is what you do. And on that bus, parakeets, chickens, dogs, and a woman with a tiny black llama on her lap, wearing a crucifix and a Peruvian cross, and rosary beads and amulets, all at once hedging every bet that has ever been offered to a human being in the Andes, and chattering away with her neighbors. Remember that llama. I have a feeling about that llama, and there's a detail in there that matters for a different reason. The bus slowed until it stopped, and, if you are hearing this, that was almost certainly your fuel or your engine coming apart, and I want you to keep your eyes on the vehicle you're in. Lily, we need you on something the animal reports are telling us.
I have it, Hank, and it is the worst single event of the night in my region. There is a facility in Guangdong province in southern China called the Hengrui Biosciences Complex. It is one of the largest contract research organisations on Earth. It houses, on any given day, in excess of 40,000 animals. Long-tailed macaques, beagles, rodents, primarily for pharmaceutical safety testing. It also operates several containment level 3 units, running infectious disease work, rabies vaccine challenge studies, tuberculosis, Henipavirus research. Cages are small manufactured objects with thin bars. They came apart first, well before the buildings. 40,000 animals are now loose in the Pearl River Delta, which is the most densely populated urban region on this planet, with over 70 million people. Most of them are ordinary frightened animals, but an unknown number, and the facility's own records are gone with the facility, were carrying deliberately introduced pathogens, including rabies challenge strains, which are 100% fatal once symptomatic, and which are transmitted by bite. There are macaque troops moving through Shenzhen and Dongguan. There are hundreds of beagles in the streets of Guangzhou. Hospitals that still have staff are reporting bite injuries in numbers they cannot process. And there is no post-exposure prophylaxis available because the supply chain stopped existing yesterday.
Lily, the Delta is also directly in the path of the Yangtze wave.
I know, Rick. I want to say one thing about this, and then move on, because I have been sitting with it for an hour. Those animals were in those cages because we put them there. Every one of them was bred to be infected with something on our behalf, so that we would be safer. And in the last hours of the world, they got out, and the thing they are giving back to us is the thing we gave to them. I do not think that is justice. I do not believe the universe is doing arithmetic tonight. But it is symmetry, and it is very hard to look at.
Lily, I'm going to take us to Bangladesh, and I promise everyone listening that this one has something good in it, because we all need one. Brahmanbaria district, northeast of Dhaka, rural, low-lying, cut through with rivers, and one of the most tornado-prone places on this planet. The deadliest tornado ever recorded anywhere on Earth happened in this region in 1989 and killed roughly 1,300 people. At about 3 this afternoon local time, a supercell formed over Brahmanbaria. Given what the atmosphere is doing tonight, the pressure differentials are extraordinary, and it produced a tornado that the Bangladesh Meteorological Department assessed as equivalent to an F4. Its track ran directly toward the Shishu Nibash orphanage complex outside the town of Nabinagar. 1,500 children. There was no evacuation. Let me be precise about why. The roads out of Nabinagar were already impassable, partly from monsoon flooding and partly because sections of the road surface had already come apart. There were no vehicles. There was no time. There was nowhere to take 1,500 children in 40 minutes. So the staff did the only thing available to them. They brought every child into the central courtyard, which was the strongest structure they had, and they put the smallest ones in the middle, and they sat down with them, and they started singing. The funnel closed to about 400 meters, and then it came apart. From the top down, the upper vortex simply stopped existing, and without the column feeding it, the whole structure collapsed in under 20 seconds, and the wind died.
Rick, that is physically consistent. The tornado is a column of air. It requires continuous atmospheric feed from above. If the air feeding it dissolves, the vortex cannot sustain.
1,500 children are alive in a courtyard in Bangladesh tonight because the thing that is killing this universe took the tornado first. The thing that is ending the world just saved 1,500 children, and it did not know it was doing it. And it is going to take them anyway. And somewhere in the space between those three facts is everything that is true about tonight. They are still in the courtyard. They are still singing. We will go back to them.
Thank you, Rick. Everyone needed that. LaDonna is back from Detroit, and she has picked up a passenger.
Hi again. It seems I've gained a guest for my view party. Brandy Connors, age 8. She's my neighbor's kid and came over because her parents never came back from a supply run. Jesus, people, this ain't COVID. Bottled water and toilet paper ain't going to save you. And if Brandy's parents are listening, yes, I'm feeding her all the candy you wouldn't let her have. Enjoy your time left, everybody.
LaDonna, on your second ever report on this network, you have adopted a child and put her parents on notice about the candy situation.
Brandy Connors, age 8. If you are listening in Detroit, and I'm sure LaDonna has her radio on, you are on Endcast Radio, and half a dozen adults on 4 continents just found out your name and are now personally invested in your evening.
I want it noted that LaDonna is winning the apocalypse. Rum, binoculars, a deck, a generator, and now a kid on a sugar high. That is a better final day than any billionaire in Groningen is getting.
And LaDonna, on the parents. You called it exactly right, and you did not soften it. And then you took the kid in anyway. Keep her close, and keep calling us.
Grant, there is an update on Perpetua continuity, and Lily has it, and it is going to make people very angry.
I have a document, guys. It came to my desk 2 hours ago from someone inside the Groningen facility, and I have had 2 independent people verify the metadata. It is a hardware inventory. The Perpetua Continuity Storage Facility in Groningen contains 340 servers. 340. The minimum theoretical storage required to hold the connectomy of one human brain, 1 at the resolution required to preserve individual synaptic weights, is on the order of an exabyte. 340 servers is off by a factor so large that I cannot express it usefully. It is not close. It is not in the neighbourhood of close. It is a rounding error away from 0. And there is a second document, a procedure specification. The 12-minute session involves a structural MRI scan and an EEG recording. That is it. That is the whole thing. A brain scan and a recording of surface electrical activity, the kind of thing any hospital does in an afternoon. Nothing was uploaded. Nothing was ever going to be uploaded.
Scammers!
That I have to share the same death date with those idiots can't be real.
200 people paid 40 million euros each to lie in a scanner for 12 minutes. And the total take is over 8 billion euros. And what is in Groningen is 340 servers holding 200 MRI scans.
So we are back to the question. Why?
And we still do not have an answer. And I want to name the one theory I cannot shake. He did not need the money. He needed 200 specific people to come to a specific bunker and sit alone in a chair for 12 minutes. We do not know what happened in that room. We know his aircraft filed no destination and has not been located.
If any of the 200 are listening, and some of them will be, we would like to hear from you. Any of you.
Guys, Biddy is on, and something has happened on that bus.
It's hot out. No AC on the bus. I feel a sudden chill and am becoming nauseous. My eyes are closed, but I sense a sudden darkness. In the distance, I see giant walls and castles forming out of rocks. A condor is gliding next to the bus, looking into my eyes as if judging my soul. Riders scream, the bus stops, people and animals flee. All that is left is my tour group and a few businessmen.
Biddy. Biddy, come back to me when you can. Lily, the walls and castles forming out of rocks. Give me the physics before anyone runs away with this.
Refraction, Hank. What Biddy is describing is a fata morgana, a superior mirage. It occurs when air layers of very different density stack, which bends light in a way that stretches and multiplies distant objects vertically. Distant rock formations become towers, walls, castles. It is a documented and completely real optical phenomenon, and it is exactly what an atmosphere coming apart in layers would produce.
And the sudden chill and nausea?
Consistent with a localised drop in oxygen partial pressure. Hypoxia presents as chill, nausea, and visual disturbance. She may have passed through a thin patch.
So the mirages are real optics, and the sickness is real hypoxia. And the condor flying alongside the bus, looking in at her.
Condors are real, Hank.
Send that man back to school.
Quiet, little one. The adults are talking.
Thanks, Keeves.
Condors, they ride thermals along those valleys every day of the year.
They do. And in the Andes, the condor carries souls to the next world. And everybody on that bus knows it. And one flew alongside a window and looked in. Everything about that report has a clean scientific explanation, and not one of those explanations makes it feel any better. Biddy, stay with your group. Do not leave your group.
Grant, I have to report on Europe's prisons and then something else, and I will be quick because the night is getting short. Silivri outside Istanbul, the largest prison in Europe, has effectively ceased to exist as a facility. 22,000 inmates. Most walked. Diyarbakir followed. Evin in Tehran is open, and Elias will have more on what that means politically, except that nothing means anything politically anymore. Belmarsh, here in London, opened at about 9 this evening, and I have to tell you the thing that has actually happened in this city as a result, because it is not what anyone expected. There has been very little additional violence in London tonight. What there has been is a very large number of men walking through this city, trying to get to somewhere in it before the end, and a lot of Londoners quietly giving them lifts. Now, the buildings are perforating. It started here about 90 minutes ago, and it is now general across Northern Europe. It begins as what people describe as a leak, a damp patch or a shadow on a wall or ceiling, and within about an hour it becomes a pinprick of daylight, and then the pinprick widens. St. Paul's has it. The dome of St. Paul's, which stood through the Blitz, has points of sky showing through it. Notre Dame has it. They rebuilt that roof, and it is going again. The Colosseum, which has stood for 1950 years, is going tonight. The Parthenon, Cologne Cathedral, the Alhambra. Every stone that human beings ever put on top of another stone in order to say we were here. All of it. In one night. Jim from Dixie is on your line, Grant. I heard him come through. Go to him, because I would like to hear a voice with some fight left in it.
Lionheart.
Most fitting name to ever exist.
Endcast driver, and as of recent events, interim commander of our Birmingham field office, and which I am hereby making official. Go ahead, Jimmy.
The end is near. That's what the street preacher's sign reads today as I observe him from across Broadcast Plaza, speaking to pedestrians as they pass him by, mostly without a second glance. A little cliche compared to his usual bravado. This is Jim, aka Lionheart, interim Endcast commander of the Birmingham field office, in the wake of recent events. We're just finishing studio cleanup today. Endcast, we're officially back online. Word is coming in regarding a wave of random bizarre gravitational anomalies. The local wire is reporting an uptick in car accidents. City monitors are identifying accelerated traffic patterns, including pedestrian. On the street, people seem to be in a hurry to get somewhere. Then I spotted evidence, A, shot of downtown gridlock, vehicle slowly levitating.
Thanks, Jimmy. Reach out to us again, buddy.
The levitation is the next stage, and I need to explain it because it will be everywhere within the hour. Gravity is a function of mass. As the mass of the Earth reduces, its gravitational pull reduces with it. This will not be uniform because the dissolution is not uniform. So what you get are regional variations in effective gravity. Objects will get lighter, then they will float, then they will rise.
So the cars are not being lifted by anything. The ground has stopped holding them.
Correct. And every unsecured object on this planet is about to do the same thing, including people.
Jimmy went up to the roof, it seems. Here he is.
Jimmy?
This is Jimmy, on the rooftop. I've come upstairs to see for myself, and indeed, some cars on the freeway just downhill are lifting from the road and appear almost to be boiling off. The news chopper above is experiencing the same. There's something thin about the air up here. In the distance, it looks like the skyline is sweating, evaporating. The rumble of incoherent street-level panic grows.
I had to laugh at sweating. Quite fitting. There is something thin about the air up here.
Jimmy, get off that roof, please.
Air thins at altitude first because there is less of it above holding it down. You are in the worst place in Birmingham to be standing right now. He says he is staying on the roof. Of course he is. Let's give Cale Gruen a call and see what he is doing.
Hey guys, thanks for calling. As we await the end, I've been trying to make my final hours special. I already called my parents in Tulsa earlier, so now I'm listening to the happy songs I cherish most in a sparkly purple outfit. And when the final minutes come, I'll be playing a cover of Auld Lang Syne by Leah Michelle. To all those listening, I urge you to remain peaceful and to gather your families close. One last time.
A sparkly purple outfit. This is our Cale.
Of course it is purple. Of course it is.
I would love me some.
He called his parents in Tulsa. He put on the best thing he owns. He queued up the song he wants to go out to. And then he got on the radio to tell strangers to be peaceful and hold their families. Cale, you have been the conscience of this network for dozens and dozens of catastrophes. You are wearing the correct outfit. Stay on the line as long as you can. Something is happening at Machu Picchu, and Biddy is walking into it.
The remainder of the bus trip was spent in silence, each in our own thoughts. The Fata Morganas, mirages, kept getting worse. As we approached the city at dusk, the long shadows of the setting sun bent upward. Everyone is on edge. Cusco seems to be shutting down, with churches being one of the few things open. We found some street food. Back on a tour bus up to Aguas Calientes. Upon arriving at Aguas Calientes, we saw a mass of people pointing to the sky. It is a cloudless night. The dark constellation Yacana is gone. A black void is all that remains. Yacana is depicted as a mother llama. She is a protector who absorbs human hardship. Even I noticed her eyes, Alpha and Beta Centauri, had gone dark. Is it just me, or is it really getting cold out here?
I want to explain what she just reported, because most of the world doesn't know this, and it is beautiful, and it is devastating. Most cultures made constellations out of stars. The Andean tradition also made them out of the dark. The black shapes between the stars, the dust lanes of the Milky Way, are themselves figures, and the greatest of them is Yacana, the mother llama, who comes down at night to drink from the sea, and who absorbs the suffering of human beings so they do not have to carry it. Yacana's eyes are Alpha and Beta Centauri, real stars, the closest star system to our own. Tonight, the dark constellation is gone because there is no longer enough Milky Way behind it to make a shape out of the dark, and its eyes have gone out because Alpha and Beta Centauri are no longer bound to us. The Mother Llama, who carries human suffering, has closed her eyes and left. And there is a woman on that mountain tonight with a tiny black llama sitting on her lap.
The cold is real. Reduced atmospheric density means reduced heat retention. Surface temperatures are going to fall, globally and fast.
I know it is thermodynamics.
Tell that to the mountain. Jimmy is back in the studio, and he is taking calls, which at this point in the evening makes him the only functioning radio station in the state of Alabama.
Endcast, I'm back in the studio taking calls. People are reporting what appear to be spreading leaks in the walls and ceilings of their homes and businesses, which within the hour become pinpricks of daylight in the facade spreading wider. Looting has begun in earnest, and I'm still unclear what is actually going on outside. Why am I always the last to the party? Lionheart, holding the line.
Why am I always the last to the party? Jimmy, you are not last. You are the only one still working the phones. And the answer to what is going on outside is that everything is coming apart in the order of how tightly it is held together. And you are ahead of most of the professionals. Alistair reported the same perforation from London 90 minutes ago. St. Paul's has it, Notre Dame has it, and now so does every house in Birmingham, Alabama. The most famous buildings in Europe, and a bungalow in Alabama going the same way at the same time. Elias, you have the picture from the Gulf and South Asia. Give it to me, and then I want to talk about what happens to the ocean.
I will, Grant, and my region has now largely stopped functioning as a set of countries and become a set of fires. Jubail is burning. Jamnagar is burning. Ras Laffan, Abqaiq, Yanbu, Bandar Abbas. The Strait of Hormuz has multiple tankers alight and adrift, and the tides Lily described earlier have pushed several of them onto shorelines they were never near. Mumbai has a different problem, and it is the one I want the world to hear about because it is going to be repeated on every coastline. The tidal chaos has put water into Mumbai twice today at heights that have no relationship to any tide table. 21 million people, a great many of them in low-lying settlements. There is no warning system for a tide that has stopped obeying the moon. Karachi has flooded. Dhaka has flooded from the riverside while Rick's tornado was forming overhead. Jakarta, which was already sinking, is largely gone. And Iran. Evan Prison opened tonight, as Alistair mentioned. There are political prisoners walking out of Evan who have been inside for decades. There are people standing outside that gate holding photographs, looking for faces, because for a very long time nobody would tell them whether the person in the photograph was even alive. Some of those reunions happened tonight. Actual, real reunions on the pavement outside Evan in the last hours of everything. That happened too. I want that on the record next to the fires.
Grant, I need to give the oceans because it is the largest single thing happening on the surface of this planet right now, and it will kill more people in the next 6 hours than everything else combined. Water is a liquid, and it is going first, but it is not evaporating in place. As gravity weakens, the oceans are no longer being held down. The sea is leaving. Not everywhere at once, and not evenly, which makes it worse. Where effective gravity has dropped furthest, water is rising off the surface in sheets and columns. There is footage from the Sea of Japan of a column of ocean water, roughly 2 kilometers across, standing vertically, going up. And where the water leaves, the water beside it rushes to fill the gap, which means that every coastline on this planet is now experiencing either a sudden withdrawal or a sudden surge, with no warning and no pattern. Tokyo Bay went out and came back 3 times in the last hour. Sydney Harbour has emptied. The Philippines have been hit on both coasts simultaneously, which should not be possible. Manila is underwater. Osaka is underwater. I want to say something that is not scientific. I have been the science voice on this network through every catastrophe we have covered, after our beloved Mike vanished. I have explained the void, the barrier, the asteroid. My job has been to take the incomprehensible and give it a mechanism, because a mechanism is a kind of comfort. Even at the end of the world, if you know why, you are not entirely helpless. I have run out of comfort. I can tell you exactly why the sea is going up. The mechanism is clean and the mathematics is straightforward, and it does not help at all. I am sorry. That is the honest report from Tokyo.
Lily, you have given the audience the why for 5 catastrophes, and you have never once lied to them to make it easier. That is not nothing. That is the opposite of nothing.
Guys, Shanghai. The Yangtze front reached the delta at 2310 local. I am not going to describe it. What I'm going to do instead is tell you what Shanghai did with its last 4 hours, because my sources in the city were sending me messages right up until the network went. And it was not panic. They went up. Every tall building in Shanghai opened its doors and its stairwells, and the residents of the low-lying districts climbed. Office towers, hotels, the Shanghai Tower itself, which is the second tallest building in the world. Security guards propped the doors open and stood there directing people to the stairs. The staff of buildings that had already been evacuated came back in to hold the doors. Hundreds of thousands of people went up into buildings that did not belong to them, invited by strangers who had no obligation to invite them. It did not save them. I want to be clear. It did not save them because the water is not the last thing that is coming, and everyone in those towers knows it. But for 4 hours, the tallest city on Earth turned itself into a staircase and carried its own people upward, and nobody organized it, and nobody was in charge. The Hong Kong harbor is empty, not evacuated, empty. The water went out 90 minutes ago and has not come back, and I'm looking at the bottom of Victoria Harbor, which nobody has ever seen. And there are ships lying over on their sides in the mud, and the Star Ferry Pier is standing on stilts above nothing. I have lived in this city for 19 years. Grant, I am going to hand back, and then I think my region is going to go fairly quickly. And I want to say now, while the line is clean, that it has been the honor of my working life to sit at this desk with the 6 of you.
Rick, do not sign off yet. Stay with me as long as you have got. Jimmy is on, and it seems Birmingham has come apart.
As I sit here at the mic, Endcast Birmingham groans structurally.
Are you listening to rock music, Jimmy?
Buddy is going out in style, I guess.
Above and around me, there is howling like an approaching sandstorm. Debris pings lightly against the windows and visibility is decreasing. I see a hoodlum carrying a TV outside. Drop it as it begins to dissolve in his arms. He turns and runs. I reach for my drink, but the ceramic mug crumbles and spills. It's not safe inside either. Our radio tower is presently floating away in pieces, still blinking in the sky. Transformers arcing. I step aside to let a wailing ambulance drift past. A city bus hovers 20 feet off the ground, slowly tumbling as it dissolves away with passengers still on board. People are taking cover, but in the plaza, the preacher holds his now modified sign. The end is here.
He had "The end is near" this morning, and Jimmy watched people walk past him without a second glance. And now he has crossed out "near" and written "here," and he is standing in the plaza holding it up while the plaza floats away. That man has been standing on that corner for years being ignored, and he has decided to keep standing there. Jimmy, if you get the chance, go and stand next to him. Nobody should be right alone.
Africa is going, and I am going to give it region by region while I still have the wires. The Nile. The Aswan High Dam perforated approximately 40 minutes ago, and Lake Nasser is now moving down the Nile Valley. 95% of Egypt's population lives within a few kilometers of that river: Luxor, Asyut, Cairo, the Delta. There is no version of the next 6 hours in which that does not happen to all of them. The Niger Delta is on fire from the same cause as the Gulf storage and pipeline perforation. Cape Town has lost its water in the other direction, the reservoirs going upward, which is a bitter joke for a city that nearly ran dry a few years ago and organized its entire civic life around not letting that happen. Lagos, where I am. my beautiful Lagos. The lagoon is behaving the way Rick described Victoria Harbor. It went out, and it has not come back, and there are people walking on the bed of the Lagos Lagoon tonight with torches. And the thing I want to tell you about Africa, at the end, is that the singing has not stopped. It started this morning in the churches, in the mosques, and the open-air services on the expressway, and it has not stopped anywhere on this continent all day, and now that the power is going, it is the only thing left that does not need electricity. There is a sound in this city tonight that I have never heard before, and it is 20 million people who have decided, without discussing it, that they are not going to go quietly. They are going to go loudly, together, on purpose. I would like to be outside for it, when it comes. That is my only remaining professional ambition. Face it head on.
Anderson, when the moment comes, you go outside. That is an order from your anchor, and it is the only one I have ever given you. LaDonna's calling in from Detroit.
Figured I'd call in while Brandy sleeps. The kid experienced her first sugar crash. Wish there was more time for more firsts. Guys, I think the Renaissance Center buildings are disappearing. Not quite like in Star Trek, but close. Maybe it's time for that last drink. Wish there was more time for more firsts.
Let's think about all the firsts we had so far in our lifetime. Let's cherish those moments. LaDonna, that is the entire loss. In one sentence, from a woman on a deck in Detroit with somebody else's child asleep beside her. The Renaissance Center, 7 towers on the Detroit riverfront, the tallest thing in Michigan, the building that city put up to say it was coming back. Going now.
LaDonna, Rick in Hong Kong, not quite like Star Trek, but close. You have described matter dissolution more accurately than the physicists have managed all night, and I want you to know I laughed. And that is the last time I laughed today, so thank you.
LaDonna, take the drink. And if the child wakes, do not wake her deliberately. Let her sleep as long as she can.
We have got you, dear. Keep the line open on that deck as long as it holds.
And everyone listening who has somebody's kid with them tonight who is not their kid, because the parents did not come back, you are doing the right thing. Keep doing it.
Grant, I have to go quickly now and I want to do Europe properly. The perforation is general. It is not buildings anymore. It is landscape. The Alps are visibly reducing. There is a hole in the ridgeline above Chamonix that was not there this morning. Reykjavik is gone, not damaged. The Icelandic geothermal fields perforated and the island's entire volcanic system vented at once, and there is nothing there now. The Rotterdam flare has ceased to be controlled and the estuary is one fire from Hoek van Holland to the city. Gravelines, Fessenheim, and now Cattenom are venting. The plume across northwestern Europe covers France, Belgium, the Netherlands, and western Germany. And the sea has gone out from the North Sea. The North Sea, Grant. There are sandbanks standing exposed between England and Denmark that have not seen daylight in 8,000 years since Doggerland went under and the first Britons walked out of it. The last land bridge between this island and Europe has just come back for a few hours, at the very end, and there is nobody left to walk across it. St. Paul's went 20 minutes ago. I watched the dome go. It had light coming through it in 100 places, and then it did not have a dome. This city has been mine for 39 years, and I have run out of ways to describe what is happening to it. I'm going to go outside now, like Anderson. I will keep the portable with me as long as it holds together. It has been an extraordinary privilege, all of you. Every night, even the bad ones. Especially the bad ones.
Go outside, Alistair. Take the portable. We will hear you when we hear you. Cale Gruen, Chicago. You're finally back.
This is Cale Gruen. As the end draws near and we face the final curtain, I want to say this. Please do not let these final moments be consumed by negativity, panic, or anguish. Do not dwell on personal or global hardships that will soon be erased, but instead, remember what a gift it has been to be alive. More than that, be delighted with what you have achieved. For even though we'll no longer be around to remember or appreciate our achievements, they happen nonetheless. No one can take that away from us. In closing, I thank Andy for letting me be myself. I thank my fellow operators, as well as Grant, Alistair, and Anderson. And to Lily, I thank you most of all. You've earned my utmost respect. Now I'm off to play that Auld Lang Syne cover. Goodbye.
Oh, Cale. Even though we will no longer be around to remember them, they happened nonetheless. No one can take that away from us. That is a philosophical position, and Cale is rightfully trying to hammer that into our heads. In a sparkly purple outfit while waiting to die. Cale, from all of us, you were never anything but yourself on this frequency, not once, and that is the rarest thing there is.
Go and play your song in peace, buddy.
Cale, if you can still hear the radio, thank you. It was mutual, all of it, and I should have said so much earlier.
Nurse Sparky is on, and I am told this is possibly her last transmission. Sparky, are you there?
Yes, Mercer. As a Christian, I believe in many paths to a God with many names. I also believe in the maxim that energy can neither be created nor destroyed, only changed. The human body is biochemical electrical energy. I don't know where we're going, but I believe with my heart and mind that this is not the end. The energy that makes each of us will continue. I'm not afraid. God, as I believe in him, is waiting. I've been alone for a long time. Orphan, widow, but the Endcast crew and field correspondents truly became my family. I can't thank you enough, Mercer, for talking Andy into taking a chance on me. Quinn, Keeves, Lily, I can never repay your kindness. Mercer, you could be a real pain in the ass, but you were also an absolute rock. My fellow correspondents, get ready for the next chapter. Oh, wow!
She saw something. What did she see?
She called me a pain in the ass, which is accurate. I miss you already, dear. In the last second, she saw something, and it was not frightening. It was the other thing. And the last word she said on this earth was, wow. Sparky. You held a hospital ward through the worst night this world ever had. And then you gathered strangers in a park and sang with them and closed up the circle every time it opened. Whatever you saw, I hope it was what you thought it was.
Machu Picchu. This is it.
Let me tell you what I see. The market is about 1/4 full of vendors hawking their wares as usual. Some people are angry and lashing out at God, Pachamama, Viracocha. Others are offering gifts to those same gods. The odor of Palo Santo and burnt sweets fill the air. Others are on their knees sobbing, and a large number are climbing the steep, narrow path to Machu Picchu. The gates of Machu Picchu are open. No fee, no timed entry, no guide needed. We head for Intipunku, the Sun Gate. When we look back, we see people atop Huayna Picchu, the mountain one sees in the background on those postcard pictures. They climbed all night. There is no eclipse, but it looks and feels as though there is. The sky is getting dark. The temperature is dropping. The atmosphere is heavy.
500 years of that place being climbed to, fought over, hidden, rediscovered, ticketed, queued for, and tonight the gates are just open, and anyone who can walk up the mountain can walk up the mountain. And they climbed all night to be on top of Huayna Picchu at the end.
Hank, the darkness without an eclipse is real. Atmospheric loss is reducing light scattering. Less air means less sky. It will keep getting darker and colder from here, and the stars will become visible in daylight.
So the sky is thinning over the mountain the Inca built to watch the sky from.
Biddy, I am with you. Keep going. Tell me what is at the Sun Gate.
We are at the Sun Gate. The sky is cracking, violet-black fissures fading in and out. Looking at Huayna Picchu is like looking at it in a funhouse mirror. Shadows are detaching and moving on their own. The ground is moving. The Sun Gate has fallen, revealing a Huaca stone. An Andean archaeologist looked at it and told us what the stone said. This is the fifth and last Pachacuti for this world.
A huaca is a sacred object in the Andean tradition, and there was one built into the Intipunku, the gate the Inca aligned to the solstice sunrise, and nobody knew it was there because the gate was in front of it, and the gate had been standing since the 15th century. And there was an archaeologist standing right there, in that crowd, at that moment, who could read it. This is the fifth and last Pachacuti for this world. They knew. Somebody 500 years ago carved into a stone that there would be 5 of these and that the 5th would be the last one. And then they built a gate in front of it and pointed the whole thing at the sunrise. And it stood there for half a millennium waiting for a night when the gate would fall down and somebody would need to read it.
Hank, the fissures are refractive boundaries and the shadows are...
Lily, I know they are.
I was going to say I do not have an explanation for the shadows detaching. I have been trying for 20 minutes. I do not have one.
Then we will leave that one alone. Biddy, you are on a mountain that has been waiting for tonight since before your country existed. Stay where you are. Do not go back down.
Fellows, we have a new operator on this network, and it is her first day. And I am going to introduce her properly because we are still a professional organization, and because she deserves it. Vivian Knightley is reporting from Phoenix. She signed up as a field reporter this week. She is on the air with us for the first time tonight. Vivian, you are on Endcast Radio.
My first day as a field reporter was supposed to be routine.
Yeah, we're kind of sorry for that, dear.
Instead, I'm standing beside the Arizona Canal in central Phoenix, where several hundred people have gathered after the water service began failing across parts of the valley. Something's off. We're seeing the water lift into white mist while Phoenix seems to be coming apart at the seams. I'm Vivian Knightley, brand new to...
Brand new to Endcast Radio, dear.
In case you can somehow still hear this, Vivian Anderson Keeves for Africa, and for mocking Quinn at times. Welcome to Endcast Radio. I want you to know that every single one of us was terrible on our first broadcast, without exception, and you were not.
The water lifting into white mist is exactly right, and it is the correct technical description of what is happening. You observed it, and you reported it accurately with no training. Welcome.
Elias Stone, Dubai. Welcome, Vivian.
Hank Mercer, Lima. Welcome to the family. It is a good family. It is a short posting, but it is a good family.
Vivian, one thing. You picked a field name before your first shift. That means you were planning on a long career. I am sorry we could not give you one. But you got a first day, and you did the job, and you are in the record now. Welcome, Vivian.
Grant, I want to go back to Bangladesh before I lose the line, because I promised we would. The children are still in the courtyard. Shishu Nibash, outside Nabinagar. 1,500 of them, and the staff, in the same courtyard where the tornado did not reach them 9 hours ago. They have not left because there is nowhere to go, and they know that. What they have been doing all night is the thing they started doing when they thought the tornado was going to kill them. They have been singing. My contact is a doctor from Dhaka who drove out there after the tornado story broke and could not drive back, and she has been sending me messages. She says the older children have organized the younger ones into groups by age, and each group has a song, and they have been rotating so there is always one group singing while the others rest. They have been doing that for 9 hours. She says the sky over Brahmanbaria has gone dark and the stars are out, and it is only late afternoon, and it is cold, and nobody has complained, and none of the children have asked what is happening, and she thinks that is because the older ones worked it out hours ago and decided together not to say anything to the little ones. 1,500 children in a courtyard in Bangladesh at the end of the universe, taking it in shifts to sing so that nobody has to be quiet. That is my last report from Southeast Asia. Hong Kong is going now. The harbour bed is coming apart, the towers along Central have light coming through them, and the peak is not the shape it was this morning. Grant. Brothers, sisters, it was the honour of my life. I'm going down to the waterfront.
Rick is gone, guys, my mentor. I am going to keep going for as long as I have got. And the reason is that the science is not finished, and somebody should be here to say what is happening while it happens. Where we are in the sequence. Galaxy clusters, gone. Galaxies, gone, including ours functionally. Solar system, unbinding, the outer planets have left and the moon has lost most of its mass. And Earth's orbit is no longer stable. Planetary structure in progress, which is the perforation everyone is watching. Next is molecular, then atomic, then nuclear, then space-time. The molecular stage has begun. That is what people are describing when they say things crumble at a touch.
But the ceramic mug crumbles and spills.
Jim's ceramic mug. The dust that Chris Corra's truck became before it became nothing. Chemical bonds are failing, so materials lose their integrity before they lose their matter. Japan. Tokyo has lost the bay. The towers in Shinjuku have light through them. Mount Fuji, which every person in this country can see on a clear day, and which has been the fixed point of this culture's imagination for 1,000 years, has a hole in the north face and is visibly reducing. Seoul is dark. Sydney has lost the harbour and the opera house went an hour ago. Manila is underwater and has been since the tides broke. Grant, I have one thing I want to say, and then I will stay on until the line goes. I have spent this entire broadcast providing mechanisms, refraction for the mirages, hypoxia for the chill, thermodynamics for the cold, optics for the seams in the sky. I did it because that is my job, and because I believe that understanding is a form of dignity. But Biddy saw the sky was wrong before the observatories confirmed it. A shaman in the Sacred Valley refused to bless a group of people and said they had no life force, 6 hours before a laser ranging station in New Mexico measured what was happening to the moon. And there is a stone behind a fallen gate on a mountain in Peru that says this is the 5th and last one. I cannot explain those. I have the mechanism for every single physical observation tonight, and I do not have a mechanism for the fact that people knew. I am going to leave that there. It is not mine to solve. But I did not want the record to close with me pretending I had it covered.
Biddy is at Machu Picchu, and something has come out of the sky.
As we began to descend, the sky cracked further open, and Amaru, the winged serpent, appeared like a distortion in space-time. Many pilgrims screamed and fled. Amaru flew figure eights between the two mountains, taking out pieces of each with his wings. The fire-breathing was worse. We found a grassy terrace to sit on and await our fate.
Amaru, in the Andean tradition, is the winged serpent. Amaru belongs to the lower world, the Uku Pacha, and Amaru comes up through the boundary when the boundary breaks. Amaru is specifically associated with Pachacuti. That is his function in the mythology. So he is the one who comes when the world turns over. What Anne describes is a distortion in space-time, moving in figure eights between two mountains, removing pieces of both.
Hank. Atmospheric refraction at extreme density differentials can produce moving optical distortions, and the pieces coming off the mountains is the perforation we are seeing everywhere.
Lily, I know, and I want to be honest with the audience about what that framing actually gives us. It gives us, there's a real, physical, moving distortion in the air above Machu Picchu that is taking pieces out of two mountains. And the people watching it have a name for it that is 500 years old, and the name comes with a job description that matches what it's doing. That is what the scientific explanation gets us tonight. It does not get us out of anything. They found a grassy terrace, and they sat down on it, and they are waiting.
There is one more call from Anne.
A woman came, sat beside me, and handed me an amulet. It was a condor, the carrier of souls to the next world. Her tiny black llama sat on my lap. We are holding hands and waiting.
She got off that bus hours ago, and somehow she is on that mountain. And she found the foreign woman she sat next to, and she came and sat down beside her again. And she gave her a condor, the bird that carries souls to the next world. She gave away the thing she was carrying to make sure the stranger had one. And the llama is on Anne's lap now, the black llama. On the night that Yakana, the mother llama, the dark constellation who absorbs human suffering, closed her eyes and left the sky. They are holding hands, two women who cannot speak the same language, on a terrace at Machu Picchu, holding hands. Grant, that is Biddy's last transmission. She is not signing off, the line is just quiet, and I am going to leave it open the way you left Chris Cora's open. Anne, I will call you Anne for your last report. Thank you. From every broadcast, every catastrophe, every night you called in when you did not have to. You have been the best of this network for a very long time. You are not alone up there. That is the thing I keep coming back to. You went on holiday to a country where you did not know anybody, and at the end of the world, a stranger sat down next to you and held your hand.
Jimmy's calling in.
The dust storm of debris is swirling around me as I witness my first casualties. Two pedestrians embrace, levitating, and begin to disapparate. Steam is rising from every storm drain. Street lights burst in sparks, and their shattered glass hangs suspended like a slowly inflating balloon before vaporization. In the sky, an airliner plummets, collapsing on itself into a smoky meteor that never lands. This is it, Endcast. The street is buckling, chunks of asphalt lifting from the ground. A water main has broken nearby, like a reverse waterfall that never comes back down. Clouds overhead are fading where they float, like stickers slowly peeled off the firmament. A crowd of people drift aloft like a flock of birds blinking out. Red Mountain is disappearing before my eyes.
Jimmy has been a truck driver, a volunteer, a night watchman's colleague, an interim commander, a man holding it down. Clouds fading like stickers peeled off the firmament. Red Mountain, the mountain that Birmingham is built against, the one with the iron statue on it, going into steam.
Guys, Jimmy had sent this unread voice message to our group chat. Before calling in this final time, let me play it loud.
All gone now. Fragments of ground floating in the void, air choking, clinging to a chunk of the plaza. The edges are dissolving nearby. Edmund Engels, the street preacher, meets my gaze at the end of the sidewalk. I'm crawling, my shoes vaporize. Edmund is writing on the back of his sign. He turns it to read, "Heaven and earth shall pass away, but my word shall not pass away." Matthew 24:35.
He was right about the end being near. He was right the whole time. He was just early. Jimmy stayed on the air until his shoes vaporized. That is the last thing he chose to do with his life. He chose to keep reporting. Lionheart, interim commander, Endcast Birmingham. Off the clock. Farewell, buddy.
Grant, I am going outside now. The lagoon bed is coming apart and the towers on Victoria Island have light through them. And the singing is still going. It is coming from everywhere. From the expressway camp, from the churches, from the streets, from the rooftops. 20 million people who decided this morning that they would not go quietly. African chants. I have 4 things I want to say, and then I am going to go and stand in it. First, to Alistair, wherever you are on that embankment. You have been my colleague for a long time, and I have never once had to check your work. Not once. Second, to Lily. You told this audience the truth every single time, even when the truth was that you had run out of comfort. That is the most difficult thing a scientist can do in public, and you did it on the last night of the world. Third, to Rick and Elias and Hank. It was a good desk. It was the best desk. And Grant, 25 years you have opened these broadcasts. Every catastrophe, the same 7 words in the same voice, and people all over this planet have heard those words and understood that somebody was still at the desk and they were not alone in the dark. That is what this was. That is the whole thing. Not the reporting. The being there. You stay at that desk, my friend. You stay there as long as you possibly can. I am going outside to face the end with my city.
Grant, the Gulf is finished, and I want to give you the last of it cleanly. The fires have gone out. Not because they were extinguished, because the fuel has stopped existing, and more importantly, the oxygen has. You cannot burn without an atmosphere. The largest industrial fires in human history have simply been switched off by the removal of air. The Burj Khalifa has light coming through it at about the 100th floor and above, half a kilometer of the tallest building ever constructed, perforated, standing there with holes in it, and it is not falling because there is not enough gravity left to pull it down. That is the thing I did not expect. Nothing is collapsing anymore. There is no down for it to go. The buildings are just going to perforate until they are gone, standing up the whole time. Istanbul. The Hagia Sophia stood for 1,500 years, church and mosque and museum and mosque again, through earthquakes and empires, and it went 20 minutes ago. Mumbai and Karachi are underwater. Tehran is dark. Mecca, and I have this from a colleague who was there, filled beyond capacity today and has been in continuous prayer since dawn, and the Grand Mosque still has people in it right now. I have covered this region for 18 years, and it has been described to the rest of the world almost entirely in terms of oil and conflict. And in the last 24 hours, the thing that has actually characterized it is that people went to be with their families and to their places of worship in numbers that no security service could have managed, and it was calm. Guys, it has been an honor. I'm going to go and find my brother's family. Whatever is left of the desk is yours. Take care, and see you on the other side. Stay steadfast. Always.
Grant, I am the science desk, and I am going to give you the last report I am capable of giving. The molecular stage is complete in most of the world. We are entering the atomic stage. What that means, practically, is that from here it accelerates enormously. Molecular bonds failing is what people have been watching all night. Atomic bonds failing is different. Once electron shells begin to unbind from nuclei, matter stops being matter. And the interval between the atomic stage and the nuclear stage is not hours, it is minutes. After the nuclear stage, there is one thing left, and it is space-time. The final rip. I want to be precise about what that means, because it is the actual end and people deserve to have it said properly. When space-time comes apart, there is no explosion, no darkness, no void. Darkness requires space for light to be absent from. A void requires somewhere for nothing to be. When space-time unbinds, there is no longer a location at which anything can fail to happen. There is no after. Tokyo is going. Fuji is nearly gone. I can see the harbour bed and the sky is black and full of stars in the middle of the afternoon, and it is extremely cold. Grant, I want to tell you the thing I have thought about for years and never said. When I joined this network, I thought I was taking a job explaining science and news to people who were frightened. And what I actually did, every broadcast, was sit in a room in Tokyo or somewhere else in Asia and talk to 6 people I could not see and 1 million people I would never meet about the worst nights of their lives and try to make the incomprehensible into something a human being could hold. I could not do it tonight. And it turns out that is fine, because they held it anyway. Sparky held it. Kale held it. A woman on a mountain in Peru who could not speak the language held somebody's hand. They did not need the mechanism, they needed each other, and they found each other, and they did it without any help from me at all. Thank you for the desk. Thank you for all these episodes. It was an honour.
Guys, are you there? I have got very little signal left on this thing. I am on Waterloo Bridge. I walked here because it is the best view in London, and because I wanted to see the river. And guys, the river is gone. The Thames is not there. There is a riverbed running through the middle of this city, and the bridges are standing over nothing. St. Paul's is gone. The Shard has light through it. Parliament went about 10 minutes ago, and the tower with the bell in it went with it. There are a great many people out on this bridge with me. Nobody is doing anything.
We are all just standing here looking at where the river was. Someone has started singing. Badly. And other people have joined in badly. And it is the most English thing I have ever been part of. You all have got about 90 seconds of me, and then this thing is finished. I opened a broadcast once, alone and frightened, and I did your line badly, and I apologize for it on air. Do you remember? You rang me afterwards and you said the line has a rhythm. I have never got the rhythm. 20 years, and I have never once got it. It is your line. It was always your line. It only ever worked in your voice. So do not let anybody else say it. Not at the end. You say it. It has been the great privilege of my life, Endcast Radio.
Grant, it is just us. Lima is going. The sea went out hours ago, and the Pacific is a plain of mud out to the horizon, and the cliffs at Miraflores are coming apart from the top. Peru is quiet. There are still people on Machu Picchu. I do not have a line up there anymore, but they were there when I lost it, and I have decided to believe they still are, on a terrace, holding hands. South America went out well, Grant. Rio danced. Buenos Aires filled a square. Lima went to the sea and to the churches. And in the high country, a lot of people who have been told for 500 years that their way of understanding the world was superstition turned out to have a word for this and a stone that predicted it. Grant. Big Brother. We have had one hell of a career, the two of us. Different networks, different hemispheres. One father who thought radio was a stupid way to make a living. I want you to know that I listened. Every broadcast. Even when we were not speaking, especially then. I had you on in the studio down here, and I heard you open every one of them, and I never once told you that. You are going to be the last one. You know that, right? I have a feeling it has always been that way. You are the anchor. The anchor goes last. That is the job. So you sit there and you do the job, and you do not let it be quiet at the end. Because somewhere out there, somebody has a radio on, and they are alone. And you are the only thing between them and the silence. Let me get that final glass of whiskey ready and enjoy this atomic cell decimation. Lovely. I love you, Grant. Endcast Radio South America, signing off.
This is Grant Mercer, and I'm the last one standing. I don't even know who is still listening. Let me tell you what New York looks like. The Hudson is gone. The East River is gone. Manhattan is an island with no water around it, standing on bedrock that is coming apart at the edges. The bridges are over nothing. There is no down anymore, so nothing is falling. Everything is just going. The Empire State Building has stars showing through it. The stars are out, and it is afternoon, and it is very cold, and there is not much air. Times Square has people in it. Not many. A few hundred. They are just standing there. Some of them are holding hands with people they have never met. The screens went dark hours ago, and they are standing in the dark square, looking up. The lights in this building are still on. I want to say something about that. Somewhere in this city, there are people in a control room who could have gone home to their families this morning and instead stayed at their posts to keep the grid up, and they are still there. And every light that is still burning in North America tonight is burning because somebody decided that strangers should not have to be in the dark. Whoever you are, thank you. You are the last ones working, and nobody will ever know your names. Let me read the roll of the end. Chris Cora, Phoenix, filed from the Grand Canyon when the Colorado River was gone. Said he never had much of a family, except this one. Cut off mid-word. Nurse Sparky, Chicago, orphan, widow, and the woman who gathered strangers into a park and sang with them and closed the circle every time it opened. Last word sparkly purple outfit, called his parents in Tulsa, told the world to be peaceful and hold their families, and then went to play Auld Lang Syne. Jim from Dixie, Lionheart. Interim Commander, Endcast Birmingham. Reported until his shoes vaporized and got the street preacher's name before the end. Edmund Ingalls, him too. LaDonna, Detroit. 2 days on this network. Rum, binoculars, a generator, and Brandy Connors, age 8, who was not hers and who she took anyway. Courtney J. Murphy. Vivian Knightley. Phoenix, 1 shift. Did the job clean. Ann. Biddy. Washington. And at the end, a terrace at Machu Picchu, holding a stranger's hand with a black llama on her lap. And every operator who ever called into this frequency. From the void, from under the dome, from the tunnels, from the sleepless nights. Every single one of you who picked up a phone when nobody was making you and said, "This is what I can see from where I am standing." You were the broadcast. Alistair, Anderson, Lily, Rick, Elias, Hank. Best desk that ever was in the history of broadcasting. I do not have very much air left in here, and the walls have light coming through them. So I am going to say the last of it now. To whoever is still out there with a radio on, I do not know your name, and you do not know mine. Not really. For decades, my whole job has been to sit in a room and talk into a microphone about terrible things. And the reason for that job, the actual reason, is not information. You can get information anywhere. The reason is so that when it is dark and it is bad, there is a voice. And the voice keeps going. And as long as the voice is going, you know somebody is still at the desk. I have been at the desk. I was there for all of it. Every night. And you were there too. That is the part I want you to hold on to. If there is any time left to hold on to anything. You were there. It happened. All of it happened. And it was extraordinary. And Cale was right. Nobody can take that away from us. Not even this. So here is the last thing. Wherever you are, if there is somebody near you, go. Do not do this on your own. Nobody should be right alone. I am not going anywhere. I am going to stay right here and keep talking until there is nothing left to talk with. Because that is the job. And because somewhere out there somebody has the radio on. All right, one more time. This is Grant Mercer in New York. The stars are out over Times Square. There are people down there holding hands with strangers. Alistair is on a bridge over a river that is not there. Anderson is singing with his city. Lily told the truth right to the end. Rick went down to the water. Elias found his family. Hank told me he listened to every broadcast, and I never knew. Systems failing. Had to slap the machine. Always helps. Somewhere on a mountain in Peru, 2 women who cannot speak the same language are holding hands and waiting, and there is a black llama on somebody's lap, and 1,500 children in a courtyard in Bangladesh are still singing in shifts, so nobody has to be quiet. That is what we were. That is what we did with it. We found each other, and we held on, and we sang, and we would not shut up. I have been so lucky. I want that in the record. Of all the ways there were to spend a life, I got to sit at a desk and talk to the whole world on its worst nights and tell them they were not alone. Welcome to Endcast Radio. It's just in, history unfolds.